It brings me great joy to say this. Dystopian is so back, baby. Dystopian romance is for the romantic fantasy girls. If you like romantasy and you haven't dabbled into dystopian romance, now's your time. Let me guide you through some dystopian romances that are definitely there for you, okay? Because if you're like me, you grew up loving The Hunger Games, The Maze Runner, Divergent. When those series were the trending series at the time, before the book talk and bookstagram space was even around, they were hits, ladies. They were hits. And now those ones had more of like a subplot of romance. These ones, the romance is a bit more front and center. We're getting on par with the romantasy space, if you will. And I think it appeals to the romantasy girls because, like romantasy, dystopian romance typically does help you with that like escapism aspect. You get to appreciate this whole new world. I don't know why I sung it, but yes, a whole new world. You get to appreciate the different structures. They give you all of that like they would in romantic fantasy, but there just might not be, werewolves or vampires running around. There'd just be usually a lot of political intrigue, though some of these do cross into like the dystopian. They're kind of like dystopian fantasy, I guess. So let's get into it. Starting off, we have Bones, my sweet, sweet baby Bones. Bones and Book 2 Fangs are both already out. I am impatiently waiting for Book 3 to be released, but this is like a really good intro into dystopian in general, because this one is a bit more character driven, especially in Book 1. It does have some fantasy elements because our FMC, whose name is Bones, has magical healing capabilities, but this one is definitely for the people that want to cry, who want a good cry. This one is emotional. It won the most tears cried from my eyes of 2025, but it's one of my favorite books because of that, because it does tug on the heartstrings. It's in a really messed up dystopian society. It kind of gives you Book of Eli vibes meets like Walking Dead minus the zombies, but just like if you watch Walking Dead, it had like those communities and who can you trust. You've got bad communities, you've got religious communities, you've got more culty style ones, and they're all like, who do you trust in this dystopian world? And you kind of gotta stay loyal to yours. Well, Bones has been going through it. She has been used and abused, ladies, for her magical healing powers that no one else has that, and they're pretty useful in this kind of world. She gets taken away, ends up in this found family aspect, but the whole story is so centered around healing. And then you have one of the sweetest golden retriever MMCs who you'll absolutely love. This book is fantastic. Holds a special place in my heart because it ripped my heart out, stomped on that shit, and so definitely pick this one up if you like to get a little emotional. Conform. This one takes a turn into more of that futuristic dystopian world. There's no recognizable things with our current society. It's very much futuristic. I absolutely love this one. This one has a brewing love triangle in it, and I know what you're thinking. So many people are hating on love triangles right now, but that's because there's so many love triangles that aren't done right. If we've got a love triangle where I'm actually torn between the two of them, then that's a love triangle done well. And I'm going to be upset in some way, or you can really like team it out, you know what I mean? So this one follows more of like this really messed up society where the elite are literally like living on top, like they're up above in society, like legit, like literally above. Beneath them is the defects, which defects literally like anything. I think if you are neurodivergent, you're a defect. That is implied because they say a lot of the defects you can't even see their defects. But our main FMC in this has 2 different colored eyes, so she's a defect because of that. So really like any abnormality is really shunned here, and she works in like this kind of art processing lab type thing where she decides if art gets destroyed or kept kind of idea. And I thought that was really interesting. But also in the society, the elite control reproduction. So they can't like just have all the elites intermingling, or, things would get a little incestual up there. So, or at least I think that's why they do this. So then they take sometimes from the defects and put them in like these reproduction contracts. So that's what happens with our FMC. She ends up with like one of the highest ranking elites, and that's kind of dangerous, but also considered like this huge honor because now she gets to go participate in high society. She really hates her defect. They're really like brainwashed to think that, so they're giving them contacts and all these things, and she's like, oh my god, I'm beautiful now that I blah 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 blah. But anyways, then there's the guy that's in the rebellion, and he's like underground rebellion, and he's showing up in her life. And I'm always on team rebellion, so I'm very much still team him, but there is hints that you could be swaying to the other one. It's done well. And they just recently released a prequel, Beneath, that I've heard some people raving about. My girl Jess has been talking about Beneath so much, and I think that some people are liking it even better than Conform. So I'm really excited to dive into that and get a better understanding of where the whole story began. I think it's called Beneath because at that point they actually are all living underground. So it'll be interesting to see how the society sprouted from this. Because I Killed Him. This is a 6-star goddamn masterpiece. Yes, a masterpiece to me. This is one of my recent reads. It is releasing on May 13th, my birthday, so just FYI, as a birthday present to me, read this goddamn book because I absolutely loved it. I did get an advanced reader copy, and I was so thrilled to have it because it is so severely underrated, and I need everyone to talk about it because this work is just so polished. So many plot lines that are like done well. It's got so many multi-dimensions to this book. It has the slowest of slow burns with yearning at like a level 10, ladies. And I do respect that the romance takes its time. It's not insta love, it's not insta attraction. It does blossom very, very nicely. It is a forbidden romance because in the society, you've got like color systems. So there's blues that are on top, then there's greens, oranges, and purples are like your low citizens. And this book also has a lot of futuristic elements meets the 20s era. They've given it like a backdrop of the 20s with the society norms being very 20s-esque, with them like dressing and speaking like it's in the 20s. Their interests are like jazz music, fencing, but then at the same time they have hoverboards and hover cars. So it's like a really cool society that blends, and they're all like filthy rich, basically, feels like. And it's considered like the civilized world is what they call it, but obviously that's on the surface. Everything's meant to be functioning really well, crime's really way down. But the reason crime's way down is because they be beheading people every Sunday. On Bloody Sunday, they've got a gold guillotine that they just be chopping what they call heretics' heads off. And then even on campus, like it's set in this university setting, and on campus they're just executing people. But the storyline, it is incredible, and I absolutely devoured this book. You cannot pry it from my hands. It was so good. Daggermouth. This was another one that I really, really loved. I think this was like action packed. If you liked Mr. and Mrs. Smith and their romance and how it was like guns blazing, they go from fighting each other to then then you'll really like this one. This one follows your FMC, who's part of the lower society. They have like these kind of rings where like in the center is kind of the rich and wealthy who are kind of benefiting off the society, including the president of it and his son, who is the executioner in this. So she's got a problem with him. And then you have kind of the outer skirts where they're treated very poorly. They don't have the same resources. And that's where our FMC is from. And she is a Daggermouth, and they do all sorts of rebellious acts. So one of her acts that she is doing at the very beginning is she is setting out to kill the executioner, the son of the president, basically. She goes to do that, and things go awry, and I won't tell you how they go awry, but somehow they end up in an arranged marriage out of that. You wonder why? Well, then you should pick it up. Everyone is raving about this book, and for good reason. It's got multi-POV, it's got multiple romances that you'll be obsessed with. It's very action-packed. It's definitely like a page-turner, and I thought it was incredibly unique, fantastically done. Eternal Rain. This is by the Twisted Sisters, who wrote Zodiac Academy, so if you're familiar with their style of writing and you like their style of writing, then this book is definitely for you. This is definitely one of their more underrated series. Again, it follows two twins, as they like to do in this storyline, and this one definitely blends like dystopian with fantasy, because now we're in a dystopian world that's ruled by vampires. So this is an exception to what I said earlier about a lot of them having the lack of werewolves and vampires. This one does, in fact, have vampires and vampire hunters, but they're in this dystopian world where vampires have won. But now, of course, they kind of have to be stingy on their food, which is, the humans, and the twins that we're following are part of the humans, and they're part of basically a blood bank society where you're donating blood to keep these vampires ruling. Then they get separated, and one of the twins ends up going to like the royal family of vampires, and in some kind of arranged marriage with one of the highest ranking vampires that are the royal vampire group. And then the other sister ends up teaming up with an ancient vampire hunter. So yeah, that is interesting, and the two romances are very different. The one guy's kind of broody and the other guy's very flirty, and there's just like, I thought that this one was a lot of fun. Beyond the Maples, this is another dystopian romance that I think is going to be more dystopian fantasy come book 2. There are hints at a lot of the fantasy elements already in book 1, some magical capabilities on the rise here, some potential magical beings that we might see, but that's definitely going to be in play in book 2 a lot more, where book 1 follows your FMC whose sister is sick, because this society again is very run down. This is like a dystopian world, not doing well. It doesn't have all the futuristic elements. It's like we're struggling. They're struggling. Like plants aren't growing, crops aren't growing. There's a shortage of food, like stuff like that. So her sister is very sick and she's working her ass off to try and look out for her family. The parents are gone, kind of thing. She has to enlist in the military because the medication price goes up, and the only thing that pays well enough is enlisting in the military because high stakes, high rewards. So she goes into the military, and then a brewing romance starts with a certain sergeant of her army, basically. And it is a slow burning one. I love a slow burn that's burning its way into book 2, and that's exactly what we have right here, ladies. There's also a lot of found family aspects to it, and you do get some cute little fantasy elements that I'm very excited to learn more about into book 2. The way this one ended was fantastic. It tied together a lot of little pieces, and it's setting up a really, really interesting book 2 where we'll see a lot more of this like dystopian fantasy world. Now, I have read all of these and I absolutely love them, but there are a few dystopian romances that are next up on my TBR, and I need to mention them because I've heard some trusted resources raving about them in the community, and they're on my TBR, so they need to be on your TBR. A Stark View is supposed to be fantastic. This is another one where the dystopian world is messed the fuck up, okay? But majority of the world is living underground, but then there's meant to be this like above ground city, but only not everyone's allowed to like access it. But our main character, I believe, is trying to get to the above ground, be on the surface level of Earth and see what that's like, because they've been living underground a while and probably going a little stir crazy down there. I don't know fully the whole trajectory of the story. I've heard it's got a really good romance in it, and I've just heard many great things, so I'm excited about this one. Another one I'm very, very excited about is To Cage a Wild Bird. It sounds incredibly interesting. It takes place in a prison where the wealthy go and like hunt inmates for fun. I think our FMC ends up in there to try and save her brother, it sounds like, and then has a brewing romance with one of the prison guards. I believe it's a forbidden love kind of situation going on, but it does sound incredibly interesting that the rich are going in there and trying to hunt these inmates. I think that sounds like it'll be high stakes, action packed, and incredibly interesting. I am very excited about this one. Okay, so now that you have a ton of dystopian romance to bang through and know the top of my TBR in dystopian romance, this is definitely where you can start. Pick any of these books up. I believe they're all hits, and dive right in. And if you haven't started your dystopian romance journey yet, then you're in the right place. If you have, let me know in the comments what your favorite book is right now in this genre, and if there's any that I'm missing on this list that you think I should read, then let me know. And make sure to like and subscribe because I'm back every week, baby. Thanks for watching.